Generally, what we know about sport participation is if you enjoy what you're doing, you're probably going to get better at it. But that battle and tension is you're pushing so hard and you're on your limit, wherever you are in your speed and whatever. But I think for me, one of the things that we've had about 2 or 3 discussions before coming here today, so we like to think we can, is often with runners, you know, we're all runners ourselves. The problem you face is it's a very time-based, outcome-based. Where did you finish in that race? What time did you get? Are you a sub 4, 3:30, 3-hour marathon runner? Are you under the 90-minute half marathon, etc., etc.? And it becomes almost like a noose around runners' necks when they've done enough running for a while and they're just looking at time. I'm going to be a better runner, potentially a better person, if I do these times. And what we're trying to do today is kind of broaden your outlook. So it's like, okay, you know, maybe time is something that's important, and we're not going to deny that that's why you enter races and you want to smash it. But actually, there's a richness in running that we can maybe give you some ideas around that will help you just enjoy that running a bit more and get a bit more perspective. So when you are doing the tough stuff, you're not just obsessed by the clock. Does that make sense? Before I was freelance, I spent 4 years working with Professor Steve Peters. If you've heard of him and his book, The Chimp Paradox. And often if you've read that or you know people who've used the model, it's the voice that William's talking about is the voice of your chimp, your emotional brain. So what that is the concept is that, we'll use this as an example, this is the real you, yeah, this is the true you, your kind, normal, nice self. And then you've got a part of you which is your raw emotions, the ugly side of your character, as William described it. And they're 2 separate thinking parts of your brain. But when we're tired, when we're cross, when we're hungry, when we're hangry, unfortunately this is very strong and dominant because it's your survival machine. So this is a little bit about what you're saying there around why is it when I'm in the middle of the race and I just want to let go and hammer it or maintain this really brilliant pace, all of a sudden this thing's popping up and saying, slow down, stop, this is painful, I don't like it. So what we need to do is get better at managing the chimp. And it's a really hard process because it's about 4 times stronger than your real you, your logical self. And then what you're doing, just to make it really nice and fun, is you're under pressure. You're doing tempo running, you're at the track, you're in a race. And you think about how you feel before a major piece of competition, or maybe a performance, if you're a singer or an actor or someone. You get these butterflies in your stomach. So you get physical symptoms, and then you get the panic. Oh my God, we're going to be out front on the stage, we're going to get shown up, people are going to laugh and point, all those voices. So it's a real skill to understand what that voice is saying, unique to you, and then be able to counter it. So I spend a lot of time working with athletes and people to work out, when you're not at your best, what's that voice saying? How are you managing that voice? And then how can you use it to actually align with this part of your psyche better to perform and do whatever it is you're trying to do?
Can I jump in there, please? Sure, I think it's a great analogy. So here's your little chimp here. I think that I was using the word ugly earlier on. It's not a great word. Society tells us that much of what the chimp wants is ugly. You know, it's highly competitive. It's, you know, it's highly critical, and all of that's incredibly useful for survival terms, but we're now living in a society above just survival needs. So this thing here keeps on showing up every now and then in its tribal way, splitting, you know, you're the other, you're this, you're that, I'm this, and it does all this stuff that's not particularly useful and we call ugly. Well, if you keep on trying to push it back here and pretend that the chimp's not here, it will find another way through. And the more you push it back, the uglier each way it'll try to come through until finally it's giving you some real problems. Instead, let's take the word ugly away and let's say that the chimp, it's not this other you, it's still part of you. You know, this is a beautiful part of you that fires, you know, it's the engine house that's pushing you ahead. It makes you at times a passionate lover, it makes you highly competitive when you need to be. It's very resourceful and all of these things, which you're probably more of an expert on than I am. So make friends with the chimp. Is that your...
Yeah. I was talking around a client of theirs who was having these thoughts, and he said, "You're getting obsessed by the watch, and then what you're doing is you're judging yourself by what the watch is telling you, So let's change the conversation. And instead of it being all or nothing at 7 miles, let's use the watch as a feedback mechanism. So for 1 mile, you're looking at it, hopefully not obsessively, but you're running and you're saying, okay, this is my feedback mechanism. This is a 7:05. Okay, that means I need to push on the gas just a little bit more. And what will happen is it's just focusing for the next mile on that feedback. Let's just keep going. Sometimes if you're able to relax your mind enough and you get into a nice rhythm and you're thinking about how you're running rather than judging yourself about the mile and the time, we know from fact if you focus on your form and let the efficiency work, that way you're going to be more relaxed. If you're more relaxed, you're going to hit slicks. So this is counterintuitive. And then if you're going quite a bit quicker, and then the chimp of course comes in with the next thing, which is, hang on, I'm doing a 650. I don't think I can carry on doing 650s, I'm going to explode. Instead of thinking that, you look at the watch and go, oh, the feedback's telling me I can slow down a bit, ease off a bit, ease off a bit. So instead of using the watch like a noose around your neck, you're using it just to guide you and say, okay, it needs me to speed up a bit, slow down a bit. And for this athlete that they were working with, it was transformational. And she would come back and she'd go, oh, the feedback was good today. I wasn't so good on the first mile, but I used it to help me on the second mile. The relaxation came, my form got better, my efficiency got better. And that way you're changing the conversation. And this is kind of like sitting underneath everything we're saying. But the voice in our head, the self-talk, is the one piece of advice I'd give to you is not just in running. If you want to get good at it in running, use it in everyday life. So if you're at work and you're under pressure, deadlines, boss who's a bit of a nightmare, and your brain jumps to say something negative, if you can note and keep a record and go, hang on, I don't want to think of something negative, I'm going to change it to something a bit more positive. When you start doing that in your everyday life, it becomes a lot easier in your sporting life. You don't just exist as a runner, you don't just exist as an employee or a father or whatever you might be. You need to change it in the whole part of your life.
And that's to keep your expectations low and keep your commitment high.
Yeah.
You know, there are all these tricks that we're talking about here, these hacks that you can use. The one thing you can't hack is your relationship with yourself. That's the one thing you can struggle with forever and never win. The trick is to stop struggling. You know, because the harder you work at it, you're never really going to get there, because you're coming at a place where you're going, you've got to be nice, I wish I was nice, I want this from me, I need this from me, if only I could do this, yesterday I was this, today I'm not, why aren't I this, I should have listened more to what Marcus said, I should have done that, and shoulds, and all the shoulds pile up, and all this shit happens, and all it just fucks you off. And it sucks up so much energy, right? Just learn not to make that part of your struggle. Yeah? You learn how to just accept who you are. All of the various parts of you, and that takes time, and there are good days with that, and there are bad days with that. But you know, in Buddhism they talk about the second arrow. The second arrow is you've got the shit that happens to you, and then you've got the way that you react to it. And just because you're having a bad day today, being an asshole with yourself, it doesn't mean you have to make it worse by then beating yourself up for beating yourself up. You can beat yourself up, say, okay, well that's what I do, let me move on from there.
If I've got a stash of stuff mentally where I kind of think of, like, we talk about what I've done harder, like not just in running or just in life what I've achieved, and I put it in there, so I'm thinking, oh, do you remember when you did that 17-mile run and you felt like whatever and you crushed it? Do you remember that time when you were at work and you did this? Do you remember that time when you did this? So I kind of have that little stash to be like, oh, actually you are pretty badass, oh, you are stronger than you think. So as much as we can have like these mental hacks of like, oh, run to lampposts, it's always just going back to remembering how strong you are. Sometimes we do forget that in the moments when we fall into the race now, thinking, okay, well, I still want to get this time, but that's not my main priority. My main priority is, can I do the best I can in each moment? So if you're feeling fantastic and you're doing the best, wow, great. If I'm feeling really low and my legs are feeling tired and all I can do is shuffle, if that's the best I can do in the moment, that's fine. So that's always like my main goal, and then everything else follows in afterwards. So you don't really get like, because otherwise if I'm focusing on the time too much and either you get it, it's fantastic, but then when you start slipping, you look at your watch and it's like, oh my god, everything's going wrong, what am I doing? But if you think, am I doing the best I can in this moment, you get a better answer back, and you tend to be able to recover from those dips which you will get for the race, rather than having an all or nothing.
Not that tired.
Track reps. It always helps me to just go through my attack the bend, cruise the straight. So it's basically compartmentalising the lap obviously into 4 100s, and the first one is the bend, which you attack, and then you give yourself psychologically a little rest as you cruise the straight, and then attack the bend, and then cruise the straight. And of course, what you end up doing is actually running very evenly, because it's harder to run the bend. So if you're attacking it, you're probably running that 100 around about the same time as you're cruising the straight. Psychologically, it helps me to get round.
Does that work as well on the longer 1K plus reps?
Yeah, it's because whatever I do, no matter how long it is, if it's mile reps, whatever, it's one lap at a time, one lap at a time, and it's not just one lap at a time, it's 100 meters at a time. Bend straight, bend straight, bend straight, attack the bend, cruise the straight, attack the bend, cruise the straight, and I just have that going around my head, and it just doesn't make it easy, but it makes it easier.
Any other comments or hacks or anything for people?
Similar to Marcus, I kind of focus on where I am.
Yeah.
Celebrate what I banked, distance I banked, and just not necessarily worry about where I'm going. Just try and be in the moment.
So that's staying present, isn't what William was saying.
Yeah, anchored to something, and just keeping the pace as I'm going around. I think that helps. And also attacking a fear. So I hated track when I joined the running club, but I did 2 half marathons on the track just to say, look, I can do this continuously. It will not beat me.
Right.
It's a bit better off.
So we're coming back to William's point on power there. You're boosting up your power, personal power, by saying, I am stronger than what I think I am, and I'm going to not give in, and I'm going to be powerful and stronger. And that's giving you a stronger mindset.
It has. During it was weakening my mindset, but afterwards I felt I had to go and do it again.
This is an important point in what William touched on as well. We hope when we're doing our running career that it's going to be this lovely linear pattern, don't we? We set ourselves an expectation that we're here and we're going to hit that 3-hour marathon or whatever your goal is, 6 majors, whatever, and it's going to go like that. But the reality is it's a lot more choppy. It's up, it's down. Let's just say, let's throw something else into the mix. You had an injury, so you go quite a long way down and you've got to build back up. What's the major lesson you've taken that now you're at the other side of the 6 majors?
Yeah.
And you kind of went into it maybe with some preconceptions and expectation.
Yeah.
Now you're on the other side, you've got the big chunky medal thing. How are you thinking about what you did there and how it fits into your running story overall?
I was talking to Kimmy about it as well outside, but obviously it's a separate conversation. But once you've done the 6 stars, you've done any sort of a major sort of accomplishment, you spent years training for this thing, and you get it, and then a moment it's all over, and then you're back to the start again. Really, it's you're defined by that one moment, or how do you live the rest of your life? And it's more about just thinking of going back to the process. So rather than thinking about this race or this time, which the time is still important, don't get me wrong, but it's gone back down to the bare essentials of training day in, day out, what am I training for, healthy life, healthy lifestyle, and things off that would be to be the best version of myself, to work towards a certain time, but they're all secondary, third sort of points, rather than, I think the 6 stars is such a big thing. You sort of learn actually there is life after that, really. You can't just live off that. I can't talk about that on Instagram all the time, Transformation Tuesdays. I mean, it's unacceptable. So,
what have you learned about yourself? And then, we're here to talk about emotional skills on the mental side of running.
Yeah.
What's the key thing or things that you brought out of that?
Oh, I think the biggest lesson I've learned probably from running, especially in Boston. I don't know if anyone knew, sort of followed Boston Marathon this year. Weather was just awful. And we're looking outside our hotel thinking, if it was a regular training day, you'd be like, Joe, I'll just drop this and leave it for another day type thing. But we've gone so far, so we got there and running through it, and it was just so awful. And I had a knee injury, and I was sort of preparing for that as well. So you're running through the rain and just trying to even though it was raining outside, just trying to think, just keep it clear inside, run through it. One foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, until you get to the end. and literally just like that towards the end. And then once you cross the line, then you kind of have this realization of how bad the weather is. You've kind of shut it out. But in that moment, you realize actually how strong you actually are. And it's not really about the medal. Actually, you are the medal, if that makes sense. You really have the strength that you had before, and it just really highlighted that. So each time I run, every time I do things like that, it's just more confirmation of the person I am, the person that I'm trying to grow to be and continue to work towards.
Do you think you've grown emotionally and mentally in the last few years through that 6-star program in a way that you didn't really think you would before you did it?
Yeah, with hindsight, but I think you don't really know it at the time. At the time you're thinking, I'm just going to go and get this time, I'm going to get this medal, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. But then you learn so much more about yourselves, especially when it goes wrong than when it goes right.
So you're a master at salvaging your races when the wheels fall off of it.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's the thing though, with marathons, they're so long, things will go wrong, and you can't go into it like thinking, even if you run like 2 hours something or 6 hours, like, there will be some point where it's going to really hurt, it's going to really test you, and there's no way around it. And the more comfortable I become with that, and not seeing it as a big surprise, the easier it's become at dealing with it. Especially like to New York, and which happened after Boston. So
for the benefits of those who don't know Marcus, again, he went out, first half went really well, the second half was a battle, a mental battle, and a physical one. His gel strategy and stomach decided to play up, and it was a long ride home to the finish, right?
Yeah.
But you still PB?
Yeah.
What I'd say around that is that my brother-in-law actually is a very successful entrepreneur, and he, like most entrepreneurs, he sets up companies. Some of them fail, some of them succeed. And he was saying the thing about setting up companies is that people who are not entrepreneurial make a mistake, is they don't understand that you can't prepare for 3 steps down the road. Because whatever preparation you make, for next year's budget, next year's sale, where this business will be in a year, it never will be there because the road's always changing in front of you. The only way you can know that third step, the third way down the road, is if you take yourself there. And really that's always going to be a kind of act of self-sabotage, because the only way you can be sure of knowing is if you fuck the whole thing up. Otherwise, it's an open landscape. So run the mile that you're in, start what you want to start, be who you want to be, and see where it leads you. And be ready to make some moves and enjoy life and be expressive and spontaneous. And worry about tomorrow's shit tomorrow. Worry about the next mile. In this mile, if you're good to you and you respect this mile, respect this moment, honor this moment, love this moment, it'll take care of itself.